Chadwick. I found out and I cried. I cried so hard. My mom, I remember we were like on a road trip going somewhere. I was with my mom and they ended up coming out with like a very like, I don't know if it was People or someone had like made a like a dedication magazine or something, and I was like, I had to get it.
Welcome to Red Wine Reads, a community of book lovers talking about our favorite and not so favorite books while pouring a glass or two of wine. I'm your host, Jenna Weston, and with me today is Sierra Marshall. Now, before we start, I should warn you that we do spoil the endings of the books we review, so if you don't like that, then please go finish this book and come right back to this episode. Here's what you can expect from every episode. We start with a super short 60-second summary and some quick facts to get you oriented. Then we will answer the question, would you recommend this book, yes or no? And we will spend the majority of the episode arguing why or why not. We will then finish the show with final ratings and pairings where we pick drinks, TV shows, movies, and other books that might pair well with today's read. This week we read MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios by Dave Gonzales, Gavin Edwards, and Joanna Robinson. Now, this book was a little bit different as it was one of the very few nonfiction books that Sierra has read on the podcast. I think even 1 out of 2. But we did have fun because both of us are Marvel fans, really enjoyed getting to deep dive into this world. This episode was not your classic as it was nonfiction, kind of more of a deep dive into the world of the MCU. So we didn't really have a 60-second summary, nor did we have pairings as, you know, you could pick any movie, TV show from the MCU to pair with it, but we did have a great conversation about one of our favorite parts of the book, what this book uncovered, and kind of how it told the story of how the MCU came to be. So without further ado, let's pull some corks and get reading. This week we read MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios by Dave Gonzales, Gavin Edwards, and Joanna Robinson. Welcome. You're so on theme for the podcast we're recording today with your WandaVision sweatshirt you got on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're literally talking about my favorite subject.
Yes, as we were deciding what book to read next, I told Sierra that I dip my toe into most things, but I think I wasn't super stoked to go into like Marvel fanfic yet. And
soon.
So this was my middle ground, which is MCU, and it's a deep dive into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how it was created and all of the dirt and the drama behind a lot of the movies we've come to love and the cinematic universe we have come to see everywhere and has shown up everywhere.
Thoroughly.
Yes. And it is a nonfiction book. For those of you with their jaws dropped, you can pick up your jaws off the floor. Sierra's reading a nonfiction book with me.
Don't count on it happening again.
Yeah.
Unless Sebastian Stan comes out with like a memoir or something, then I will read it.
Then she's all over it. So we'll just dive right into after finishing this behemoth of a book. I got it from the library, not gonna lie, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit thicker than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, same.
But after finishing it, would you recommend it, yes or no?
I think if you really want to know how the Marvel Cinematic Universe came to be, I think definitely yes. There are certain people that I just don't think would be very interested in the ins and outs of what it takes to create this whole franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And so to those people I'd say no. I say it's like a very niche group of people that I would like recommend it to, just because like if you really want the legal about how like the trading of characters and, you know, like the deals that happened in order to make these movies happen, then yes. If you're a big film buff, I think also would be a really good one for you to read. But I would say yes, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it's, again, very specific people that I would be suggesting it to.
Yeah, I would probably say the same. You don't necessarily have to be a Marvel fan, but I think you actually do. I think you need to have...
I think you kind of do.
I mean, it's very much like a detailed timeline of all of the, movies that have come to make up the MCU and how it's really like become this film, monopoly almost on the superhero film genre. So like if you haven't watched a lot of the Marvel movies, I don't think this would be interesting because you might get a little bit lost in the sauce. But I will say, like, Casey and I last year did a like watch of the Marvel universe like from start to finish, in according to like the release dates, so not the chronological order of how things worked. But we were talking about doing it again this year
in the chronological order.
Yeah. But yes, I would say like, if you've watched the movies, if you have an appreciation for Marvel, if you have appreciation for like comic books, then yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But then if you don't, then don't pick it up. It's not worth your time.
If you're really not interested, wow. I was going to say interested in the entertainment industry, this really will bore the crap out of you.
It will. It was tough even for me at points, especially in the beginning. Yeah, but we'll get into that later. So we'll start with what sparkled out of this book. I know it's kind of a funny thing, but like, what do you like? Like, what were kind of like some of your standout, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, or like, this was fun.
Right. I think honestly, what really stood out to me, I think not just like within like how this was written and the fun facts that we learned. And I guess this is kind of a fun fact of, like, how Kevin Feige, like, came to be, like, the Kevin Feige we know.
Yes.
And, like, obviously, like, he has his hands in everything. And, like, just hearing, like, his beginnings, like, just even starting on that X-Men film.
Yeah.
I think that was so interesting that he was, like, seemingly not even, like, originally, like, interested in comic books. And then once he, like, really got into, he was like, oh. And I think like that's such a universal experience for so many people who do enjoy these films, is like we see one, and for a lot of people that one that we first saw was Iron Man. And then after that, the continuous like production of these movies, and you were just like, every single one, I have to see every single one. And there are very few that I haven't seen. I think the only one I haven't seen as of yet is Ironheart, which we will continue on to watch that later. But I just think it's like so interesting to see like these humble beginnings for him in a lot of ways, like hearing how many times like he was rejected from the USC, I think that was right. Film school. And like him just continuously trying and knowing like this is what I'm supposed to do, and he was not gonna give up until he really got into it. And then just hearing how he just essentially was interning and just continued to develop his creative like vision and really make it an incredible experience for billions of fans. And so like that to me is just so commendable and just such an amazing part of the story.
Yeah. I think it like very much outlines like like how Kevin Feige built this like, I mean, this universe.
The behemoth.
The behemoth that it is. I keep using that word, but it literally is. But like he like being on set and X-Men and him being so focused on Wolverine's hair.
I know.
And like being like, it has to be like, it has to have that look. Like they won't, like that's him. That's what he is in the comic books. And everyone's like, you gotta stop. You gotta like lay off the hair.
They're like, dude, he's gonna look ridiculous. And he's like, no, hear me out. He won't.
Yeah. And then he was like, and he kind of did for the first movie.
But you're also like, but you got Blue Chick over here. And
yeah.
I mean,
but I think it like totally like
Mystique.
It totally like bleeds into like how he has handled the rest of the movies of like being so detail oriented, being so like, no, it has to be like this way, or else it doesn't make sense in the whole picture. Because being able to have this incredible franchise to keep building it out year over year over year over year over year, and have all of these stories woven together with very minimal plot holes and like very minimal like overlaps. Like there are some things that they like address, especially across the like TV universe, but like it's honestly so impressive. And you really can see it, like the progression of it, like starting with that first X-Men movie of just like the coif of the hair having to be like perfect. Yeah.
That was such a fun detail, I think, to like add into it. Because I feel like that's just, he's like, if he's not going to be the same height, he's like, he's got to have the same hair. And I just love it.
Yeah, because, yeah, he wasn't even like the same build. And so, yeah, it was interesting. I will say, like, I think my favorite section in this was when they were talking about the Incredible Hulk movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, I guess if you're growing up and you have a dad like mine who is comic book obsessed, like, he was, like, you know, the kid in his room, like, with piles and piles of comic books.
That's so cute.
And, yeah. And so, like, of course I was going with him to, like, all of these movie premieres, especially, like, the Iron Mans and the Spider-Mans and all those. But, like, the... like, Incredible Hulk was just infamous for being just an absolute, like, dumpster fire movie. And I remember having it on DVD at our house and being, like, as we got deeper into, like, once Iron Man came out and as we got deeper into the franchise, I was kind of like, I totally forgot about the Incredible Hulk. And then, like, I kind of, like, flipped back. And then when they were telling the story and they were talking about how, I, like, honestly forgot Edward Norton was in it. I was, like, waiting for the, like, oh, and then Mark Ruffalo came in, but then I was like, oh, I forgot Edward Norton was, like, the first Hulk in this.
So, it's so funny because I do remember, and then I was like, wait, because they did that, like, the end credit scene or something. I think it was in Iron Man, right? But they show, like, Natasha going and finding Bruce and is like having that conversation with him, like, oh, you need to come, like, we want you to join our team, blah blah blah.
Oh,
all these things.
No,
and I can't remember which movie it is in, but I was like, hold on, like, even when I was younger I was like, that is not I was like, that's the guy from 13 Going on 30. I was like, that is not the guy who played Hulk. And then later on, hearing about this drama, not even having read that, hearing all this drama about, like, what exactly went on and why they ended up choosing Mark Ruffalo, and I wasn't disappointed. I freaking love him, so.
Oh, me too. And he's, like, the perfect thing. But I thought it was so interesting that, like, Edward Norton, like, it makes sense, but, like, really wanted to, like, focus on, like, a darker, moodier, like, coming, you know, like, this is, you know, it's more about the character rather than, like, the action.
The actual
and
Hulk.
Yeah, and Kevin Feige kind of being in the background a little, like, this is kind of one of the first movies and just being like, it's not gonna work. Like, everybody, like, wants just action, very little, like, minimal emotional like, investment, and having it be, like, this perfect balance of funny and, like, and serious, but then having also, like, them talking about the CGI and having Edward Norton, like, not really be super involved in that, and so then the Hulk face isn't, like, his face, and so then there's a disconnect there. And I thought, like, all of this stuff, I'm like, you don't even think about going into, like, watching a movie, and then you're like, oh yeah, that would kind of throw you off as a viewer, being like, that's not his face.
Right.
And they're supposed to be the same character.
I think it's also really interesting to, like, see how that's developed from, we didn't necessarily want to see a lot of, like, Hulk's personal development to, like, now. I feel like that's, like, that kind of tonality has shifted. But I do think, like, changing the script, like, while you're on set, or, like, really having an actor have that much directorial say as to what exactly is going in the script, what exactly is being like talked about. Like, you know, I think too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yep.
And I think that's where you run into the problems that they ended up having. Not to say that, like, his ideas weren't valid and, you know, that it could have been, you know, good given more time and more, you know, investment. But I think where we were just starting out, there should have been more say from the producers and directors and of this production, so that it wouldn't have been just, well, I think this and I think that and this is how I believe my character should be. And I think we even kind of somewhat run into that same-ish problem when we were talking about, like, the first Avengers movie with Joss Whedon. And I think that's also really interesting. And then hearing, you know, from other writers who had been working on this and, like, had essentially made this their baby, and then having someone else come and be like, actually, your shit sucks and I'm gonna rewrite it. That just was the energy that was given.
Well, that was the craziest thing. Like, hearing that, like, 4 or 5 writers are, like, working on these, and it's just, like, rewrite after rewrite after rewrite, and then it's, like, only the last person who touches it gets their name on it, and you're like, that sucks.
Right.
That would suck for these writers that are, like, in that program that are, like, spending 3-4 years writing these scripts to have it just be
conceptually, it's really their baby.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I know it's a dog-eat-dog world, but still, I'm like, oh, damn, that would piss me off.
How particular Marvel was about their directors after that point, because they were like, we have to have some form of control so we have a consistency throughout these movies, which, like, in hindsight does feel a little harsh. Like, of course, like, you want creative freedom if you're going to be a director of a movie, but also like, they would not have been able to build what they have built without that, because, like, if you go to a Marvel movie now, you know what to expect. And as you've said, they do have, like, I feel like they have shifted a lot of the tonality, especially when you're looking at, like, the most recent ones, like
like Thunderbolts and
Captain
America, the newest Captain America.
I hated that movie, but we'll get into that. But, like, yes, I think, like, they have shifted a lot in previous years, but, like, yes, in those first movies, like, you have to have that because you're establishing something so great. So, like, I get it, but it's also, I felt so bad for all of the writers in this freaking book.
Right, me too. Well, and
I
think I also feel, part of me also feels bad for, like, all the women who had started off in the MCU. And I will, like, give some commendability to Joss Whedon when he was like, no, we do have to have females in this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, congrats on that. I don't particularly care for Joss Whedon. That's a personal opinion of mine, just because of some of the stuff that I've heard about, like, Buffy and and other,
and they mentioned it in the book.
Yeah, and they did. And so, but also knowing he is well known as, like, a pretty great director, and I just think of, like, how long it took, and, like, big commendability for Kevin Feige, because he's continuously fought for women and people of color to, like, be included within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and, like, we love, like, genuinely just love him for that. But I think, like, how long it took to get, like, Natasha didn't even get her own movie before Carol Danvers did, which to me is crazy.
Yeah.
That she has been in the MCU the longest, and she, like, not the longest, obviously that's Robert Downey Jr., but
well, yeah,
one of the longest, you know, she was in the second Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
And to not have her have a movie for that long, just, it sucks.
Yeah.
And also to, like, watch interviews, like, not necessarily mentioned in this per se, but how sexualized she was as like as a woman in the MCU at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, not getting like action figures and stuff like that as well. And I'm just like, she's literally like the coolest.
Yeah.
Like, she is a like freaking spy agent, like
A
from
Russian
the Red
assassin.
Room. Right. A Russian assassin from the Red Room, like literally brought in from childhood, and like you see that eventually. And I do in some ways think like, and I'm so thankful that it did take so long for her to get a movie, because then we were introduced to this like family dynamic, and we really got to play into what that looked like in this case taking place before we get Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is like really beautiful to be able to build some characters off of her story, specifically Yelena, and I love Yelena.
Me too.
But I just think like how hard like they had to fight for years in order to get her own movie.
Yeah.
To get many female characters their own movie.
Well, to hear what was interesting is it's like you would kind of assume it was just like a leadership decision in the sense of like people don't want to watch women fighting, like kind of vibe, but like
just such a lie.
Literally, but like it was so owned by this like toy manufacturing decision, which I thought was like so interesting, especially as we're getting into like 2015, 2016, and I was like, we're still talking about like toy as like Toys R Us is like going bankrupt and like going out of business, and like we're saying like toys are king and that's what's determining what movies are being made. Like that's bullshit. And so like when they like finally were able to stop working with that Disney, when they finally got to like get him out of there and like get working with like the more creative minds at Disney, like that was when I was like, thank God. And like how like they were all asking about, you know, these female, especially like with Guardians of the Galaxy, and like we all kind of knew when that came out that that was like something that was very different from what else had come out before. But like to actually read about the impact of it and like how big of an impact it was, in the sense of like this was kind of like the side project that nobody really gave a fuck about. So like they were kind of like, do whatever you want. Yeah, sure, do that. Yeah, put Bradley Cooper as the talking raccoon.
Right.
That's really good idea. And then like having it be this absolutely like groundbreaking thing, and then having that almost lead to the, you know, questions of where's the Gamora action figure. Like you have an entire package full of these like Guardians of the Galaxy figurines and Gamora's not in it, and then like having them ask about the like Gamora t-shirts and like, oh, we only make them for boys, so like we're not going to put Gamora on the t-shirt.
You're like, that's actually so crazy.
And I was like, this is insane, because this is what, 2016?
Yeah.
Like absolutely bonkers. And so like seeing how that was kind of like the catalyst for getting the Black Widow movie, and then having, I'm like, part of me just like wants to like scream out into the universe that of course the Black Widow movie drops in 2020.
I just, the way that they did her dirty, and I remember when it came out, and obviously like as a Disney Plus like someone who had a Disney Plus account at the time, I was simultaneously like stoked that I could watch it from my home, but also recognizing that now me, my friend, and her friend could all watch this movie without paying the price of like $20-something versus each one of us paying $20-something, which ends up being less money for the movie, for Marvel in general, which means less less money for Scarlett Johansson, which again, she fought tooth and nail, I feel like, within the MCU, like continuously getting sexualized, continuously getting sexist comments, like just like all of these these hardships, which I know she also thought of it, I'm sure, as like a blessing, because it's an amazing franchise to be a part of and getting to work with so many incredible actors, but also to have that monetary like value taken from you because someone decided it would be a good plug for Disney Plus really like doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah. And I like remember when it all went down too, and I wasn't really like understanding what was happening, but then to like actually read about it and to read and to have all the background knowledge too of like leading up to it as well, of like her fighting so hard to move away from like being sexualized, from fighting so hard to like build up more of her background and build up more of her story, and then to finally have this like dedicated movie to have her story, and then to have it end like how it ended, and not have these systems in place to pay people the right way for the streaming wars as they like started ramping up. I was just like, I feel so bad. And like it sucks so much because we were taking like such strides for women, especially in this like in the MCU, and then to have that be like the first real test, I guess, of it sucked.
I was like, why?
Was I surprised?
Why did you do her dirty like that? Yeah. Again, it's kind of one of those things that you're like, yeah, that would happen.
I do think it was kind of funny how they just glazed over the Eternals movie. You know, we started getting like women in movies, and we started having women directing movies.
People of
and there was the Eternals, and then
you know, like brief plug of that. And here's the thing: is that in some ways, I get it. I enjoyed Eternals. Genuinely, I did. I know a lot of people who didn't enjoy it, which I guess I get. It didn't do well.
No.
Is the cut and dry of it. It didn't do well in the box office, and
well, it was so different than what the other ones were. It was like very much. It was more of that storytelling. It was more of like.
Yeah, and I do think like the not bringing in anything else like super related, which I know at the end like we get Black Knight, I think is his name. I think they eventually want to bring him in because like there's this team that has like Ghost Rider and Moon Knight, Black Knight, and then also the werewolf and maybe a Dracula character, I think. I can't remember what the team is called, but
interesting.
Whatever. Which I see, like, I know that they're slowly they plant things in other movies to be able to tie them together.
Yes.
But I think that was the whole point that Kevin kind of was making, is that I feel like in some ways we've kind of gotten away from it as well. With making sure the content of your movie outweighs the future like possibility of the of the multiverse or the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a story that can stand well by itself as just a storytelling like project, movie, whatever, then you're kind of lost in the sauce, and like people are going to be like, well, why would I just watch this continuation thing just so I can understand a little bit better what's going to go on in the next, like, installment if, like, this movie's not genuinely, like, good.
Yeah. I think one of my, like, favorite sections was reading about Kevin Feige's, like, obsession with sequels and making sure that, like, if, like, a movie bombs, that he's able to, like, almost, like, bring it back. And so, like, hear about, like, Thor Ragnarok, because it was so good, to be like, I needed to like make up for the for like the Thor the second Thor movie, and I also needed to make up for the lack of like a Hulk movie, and like to have it be that solid of a movie was like so cool to see. And like there was another one, I even just like seeing how they navigated like the Black Panther and like having oh my God, I cried.
Chadwick. I found out and I cried. I cried so hard. My mom, I remember we were like on a road trip going somewhere. I was with my mom. I think I was driving. This is when I moved to Michigan. And I was driving with my mom. And I remember hearing about it. And I'm like bawling, crying in the car. And they ended up coming out with like a very like, I don't know if it was People or someone had like made a like a dedication magazine or something. And I was like, I had to get it. And just like unbelievably devastated. I still get so sad when I think about it.
Yeah.
Because knowing how much he meant to so many people within this universe.
Yeah.
And also to know like him as a person, like even they even talk about it, him taking specific projects that really don't perpetuate like this negative stereotype to Black people. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, ugh. And then they're starting to talk about him in there, and I'm like, I'm gonna cry now. But yeah, I just, like, what an incredible loss, but also them finding a way to navigate it without, like, you know, taking him out of it, like, genuinely making it, like, a testament to the work that he did as Black Panther, even though it was, like, very brief within the cinematic universe.
Yeah. Well, and I think it even ties back to, like, the casting director of how, like, her story was really interesting because I think, like, she was able to pick out these characters, picking out the Chadwick Boseman and be like, it's not only, like, you know, they look the part, not only are they, like, not big enough so we don't have to pay them a whole lot of money, but, like having that, like, knowledge and that gut feeling of being like, I think they're gonna be, like, really good in this role. And it doesn't matter, like, that, you know, it's like right now Chris Evans may be like a little twig and he has to like gain 60 pounds of muscle in in like 6 months, but like I think her ability to do that like just proves like she did such a good job with like all of these people. And then getting into the Black Panther movie and being able to hear all of the background knowledge of like even the music and the like filming locations and how everything was so thought out of like how they wanted to do it, to not like as Chadwick was like as Chadwick talked about, of like not perpetuate these stereotypes, but be able to be, and to talk about like Wakanda being what if like Africa was able to just like thrive,
not be colonized. And I literally am like,
I was like, oh
I
my
will
God.
cry.
Yeah,
I'm actually it makes me like super emotional.
It has like it makes me like have such an appreciation. Like I had an appreciation for the movie, but like even more so just to hear all the work and the thoughtfulness and kind of Kevin Feige being like, let's do it. Like, let's do something that people haven't seen. And kind of giving the middle finger to like the toy guys and being like, it fucking worked.
And what an absolutely like undeniably incredible like cast. Like I could go on for days about how like I just love like Black Panther. I love the movies. I love the characters like Okoye and like just all of them. Shuri, I think she's so fun and
so good.
I will enjoy that movie and those movies for the rest of my life. And that's truly a testament to like the foundation that Kevin built and also the foundation that like Chadwick had like on that whole cast and crew, and you know the vision that he also had for that movie too. It was cool. It was very cool to like read about. So there you go. If you haven't turned it off yet and you enjoyed this conversation, then I highly recommend that you go read this book because it is very good for those Marvel lovers out there and those who want to dive a little bit deeper into the history and into the drama and the ins and outs of this universe and how it came to be. And then catch me one day making Jenna read a What If book.
Yep.
And Marvel What If. Or the low-key book, which is also amazing.
Yes. So we'll see. So next week we will be reading book 1 in the Lady Janies series, which is My Lady Jane, Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows.
There you go.
This comical, fantastical, romantical, New York Times bestselling, not entirely true story of Lady Jane Grey is an uproarious historical fantasy that is not to be missed. In My Lady Jane, co-authors Cynthia, Brody, and Jody have created a one-of-a-kind young adult fantasy in the tradition of The Princess Bride, featuring a reluctant king, an even more reluctant queen, a noble steed, and only a passing resemblance to the actual history, because sometimes history needs a little help. At 16, Lady Jane Grey is about to get married off to a stranger and caught up in a conspiracy to rob her cousin King Edward of his throne. But those trifling problems aren't for Jane to worry about. Jane gets to be Queen of England. Like that could go wrong. Love it.
Sounds good.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Alrighty, well, stay tuned. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Well, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you liked it, please go give it 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this right now. And if you want more book-related content, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at RW Reads Podcast. That's at RWREADS PODCAST on Instagram and TikTok.